Irashaimase. Hello and welcome to Fataris' Kitchen. I'm your host, Chef Fataris. Happy Halloween. On the holiday menu today, we have Silver Bullet. What kind of taste will it have? Let's get cooking and find out. From developer 1cc Games and publisher Flynn's Arcade, Silver Bullet released at the end of October for the PC via Steam and the Nintendo Switch, which is the version we're playing today. This title is a retro-styled shooting gallery. Think along the lines of Wild Guns or Cabal, but it has a spooky theme to it which makes it perfect to highlight on Halloween. So if you're looking for something fun to try out at a low price point, then I definitely think Silver Bullet might be just the thing for this Halloween. Finding ourselves at the main menu, we can see that there are a few game modes we can play, so the game really does have a lot of content. We have the arcade mode, which has a lot to it. There's also the score attack, and then through playing arcade mode you can unlock terror blocks, which is basically an extra kind of Tetris-like puzzle game that has some unique mechanics for the game itself. It's a really neat little extra. So, that said, diving into arcade mode, we do have a little bit of a story here. Basically, these demons have dog-napped these dogs, and our job is to go rescue them. Once you start here, you can see all the stages lined out in front of us, and although they're not all stages, there are a few shops in there. And then we have our prelude stage. So we play the character Van Helsing with his dog Silver, and we're trying to go and save those dogs. So as I mentioned, this is a shooting gallery style where we can control with a couple different control setups. So the one I like is the twin stick, where we use the right stick for controlling the reticule, the left stick for moving our character. So if you're playing that way, then for the fire button, it will be on a switch the right trigger. Then we also have a melee attack, which I'll talk a little bit about in the moment, as well as our attack with Silver. So now that we've finished that prelude stage, which is kind of acts as a bonus stage and sets the ground for our movement, we come to our first stage, the Mystic Mansion. So now we can move left and right, and the reticule as well. One thing to note, you can't move the character when you're firing. So that's one of the things, if you're playing with the straight arcade stick mode, you can't move while firing, and you can't move the reticule when you're not firing. So it makes it a little bit trickier. But some of the other elements of the game are a little more lenient because of that. So in this stage, we have these bats that are basically extra points that we can attack. There's also, in every stage, you'll encounter a thief, which we can shoot for extra gold coins. And now that we're through those parts, we have these ghosts, which are not ghosts, these witches that are dropping shots on us, as well as these cauldrons, which will explode into these bubbles, and the bubbles will break up into smaller and smaller chunks, either when they bounce on the ground or when we shoot them. They also give us gold coins for destroying the cauldrons, so that's will be pretty important, as those coins are the currency we use in the shops that you encounter in the game. So on the left there, we have the number of bolts that our crossbow is loaded with, and when we're using a base crossbow, that doesn't matter. But we did just go and pick up a new item, the shotgun. And under our ammo on the left there, you also have time. When the time expires, the stage boss approaches, which in this case is Hazel. So the first part of the stage fight, we have this cauldron here, and especially with the shotgun, we can make really quick work of that. However, let's take a quick second to use our other mechanics. So we have a special meter that we can fill, and when we have that meter filled, we can fire our dog Silver at the enemies. And what Silver does is any projectile Silver comes across, as well as damage that Silver deals, will give you the point items that you happen to have scored up to. And I will talk about that in just a moment. We'll talk about it now. So the game is really heavily based around accuracy. So the more accurate you are with the shots, you're building up an accuracy meter, which you can see there on the left. That accuracy meter above it has candy, which is basically the point items. So the higher that number is, or so right now we're at just shy of 900, the better your point items are going to be, especially when you use your special attack Silver, which is the meter that fills up below. Now we've finished the boss and rescued the dog, and, well, real briefly, that's what we have for Silver Bullet. Now you have the tallying of the score at the end, and it shows you what point items you got up to. Now, after every stage, there is a bonus stage as well, and these bonus stages actually are pretty difficult to clear, so you can consider them just ways to get points, or ways to just kind of like take a break between the action. So here what we're trying to do is keep these skeletons from getting to those dogs on the right, and there's 3 different modes of transportation. We have one that's a dragster, one that's just a standard rail car, and one that's a plane. The plane is pretty hard to defeat, but we can do so as well. Once you've let one through, these ghosts start to appear to make things even more difficult to us. So as we build that experience, or that accuracy meter, there's ways that that meter can decrease. Of course, if we're missing shots, it's going to start going down, but in addition to that, if you lose lives, then it'll take a significantly larger hit of several hundred points. So now we have a shot which comes before every stage, and there's some really nice upgrades here. So you can get additional lives. We can increase our accuracy faster, but if we happen to fail either missing shots or other, then it'll go down quicker. And we have Doggenstein, which basically gives us an extra charge for our special attack. That's definitely the one I like the best, so where it's also cheap to buy, we'll pick that one up. And we find ourselves at the next stage. And that's basically Silver Bullet served up for your enjoyment. From this point on, the game will start to ramp up in difficulty as we get more enemies, more bullet hell, sections as far as the bosses are concerned. So, like, it really does become fairly difficult pretty quickly, and that's pretty satisfying. If you lose all your lives, which are displayed on the bottom of the left bar there, then you do have a handful of credits, but once those are gone, it'll be game over. And admittedly, with the time I've spent with the game, I still haven't been able to go and clear it, but it's nice having a bit of a challenge as is. So my biggest complaints, as far as the minus flavors are concerned, there is a little bit of a learning curve as far as the controls are concerned. So not so much like not being able to shoot while moving around, but there was a problem with the initial setup that was something that it took me a little bit to figure out, and once I did, I was able to come up with a pretty decent solution. So under the menu, or rather, let me go and explain the problem. So the problem is, with the default setup, is even if you're not moving and shooting, the left stick will move the reticule when you're firing. So you could potentially mess up your targeting if you're using both the left and the right stick at the same time. Under options and controls, the way you can change that under twin stick is by default this focus aim stick, so that's when you're firing, is set to both sticks. You can change it to aim stick only, and only the right stick will control the reticule, and I do recommend making that settings. There are a couple other changes I've made to the controls as well, but that's the big one to note. There's also your melee attack, which I kind of wish that it could go and do more. But you can defend yourself from enemy bullets, but it's not very easy to master that timing. But on the plus flavors are concerned, I really love this little spooky vibe that the game has. It really is the perfect title to come out right around Halloween, and it feels like it just fits that just that whole theme, that time for the holidays perfectly. So if you're looking for a new title to try for Halloween, especially given its lower price point, then Silver Bullet is definitely one that I can recommend. In addition to the lower price point, there's also a fair bit of content here, as well as unlocks. You have that whole Tetris mode that I was talking about. We also have some in-game achievements, or if you're playing it on Steam, there'll also be achievements associated that way, as well as unlocks for having permanent weapons. Some of those are going to be locked behind being able to perform really solidly in the overall gameplay, but with a little bit of time and practice, I think you'll definitely be able to get there. So there we have it. Silver bullet served up for your Halloween enjoyment. And with that, we find ourselves at the end of this special episode of Vitaris' Kitchen. As always, I want to wish you a happy Halloween, and we look forward to seeing you again next time.